What's going on, guys? We are finally back with my 2005 Forester XT, and in this video I am finally going to get to a problem that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and that is get into the back here, get to the fuel filter, the fuel pump, take that out, replace it, and I'm actually going to take out the fuel filter and I am going to put it up front where it used to be before these model years. The fuel filter used to be right up here. I'll show you where it was. Super easy to access, super easy to change, but then they took it out and then they made it part of the fuel pump assembly, which is a pain in the butt. They say it never needs to be replaced, but this car has 150,000 miles on it, and I think a filter needs to be replaced after that many years and gallons of gas. So let's take a look. So once you open up the hood, we look over here right next to the washer reservoir. Right here on this bracket is usually where they had them, but then they just put in on this bracket, they put something else, and then this for the fuel line, whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put in the old style one. So basically just go back to any Forester that had this mount. I went to a junk car and I got the mounting for everything that I need. So really you just need the mounting hardware. If you don't have the mounting hardware, you might be able to hook something up if you're thrifty. Besides that, all you really have to do is just get some fuel line once you actually get this out, and that filter, you're just gonna take the filter out, and instead of replacing it, just put in a fuel line with some hose clamps, and that's it. Then we just come up there and we splice in the new one, and that is it. That is moving it to the front of the car. And of course, the first step that we're going to do, because we're working on the fuel system, we are going to disconnect the battery terminals so we can start fiddling around. So here we are in the back. The first thing we need to do is we need to take off this little privacy cover if you have one. So it just pops up. There it goes. And that thing comes right out. We'll just set this right down there. And the next thing that I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna pop the seats down so we can get more room, because your little opening is gonna be right there once we get all this stuff out of the way. So these things are pretty easy to take out. So I'll just start with the middle one. You can just grab this and come up. It just has little hooks at the end. And once that's up, we are going to remove the spare tire, because in order to get this stuff out, we have to kind of scoot these in because they're tucked in under here and the tire's in the way. So I'm just going to remove the rear tire, spin this thing loose, and take this thing out. And once the spare tire is out of the way, I'm going to start over here on the right hand side, and you can see there's a little clip there. So what I did was I just put a little tool under there to loosen it up a little bit, and it pops free. You can actually feel it under there. So then this can come out like this, and there you go. See, there's a little clip up there that goes in to this one right here, and then all the way at the bottom, these little clips over here are going in down there. So you can't pull these through. I just got something under there and lifted it up to initially pop this thing out, and then it all lifts out. And the same thing over here on the left side, there's a little clip right there. So just make sure that thing is popped up and this is loose. And then we're gonna scoot up a little bit more, make sure there's nothing in here. There's no pins in that one. So we're just going to lift up, pop those clips, and this is a bigger piece, so I'm gonna need 2 hands, and then lift this out. And last but not least, we have this final piece back here. In order to get this out, we've got a pin in here, which is different from the rest. It's your little Christmas tree pin, so that's just gonna come straight out. So I put something down there, lifted it up. You can see a little Christmas tree pin that's got all the little jags on there. Once you get that, try to put your fingers under here and lift straight up. I've already got this out because, there you go. You can see right here, there's a square pin with a square hole right here, so you have to make sure that comes up as straight as possible so you don't break that. But now that that's out, I'm just going to push this up like that. No need to do anything else. And boom, we are in the back of the car. We have access to the fuel pump and the fuel filter. So let's get started on this guy. Looks like we've got 4 Phillips head screws on that plate, and we're gonna take this thing out. And there it is. There's the little foam pad underneath. Got all the screws in there so I don't lose them. And this is what we're looking at once we actually get this out of here. Now before I take anything off, I already started a little bit, but I've just got a little broom and I'm gonna clean this up as much as I can. This keeps any dirt or debris or anything like that to get into the actual fuel tank once we lift this up and all this stuff gets moving around. So I'm gonna clean this up as much as I can because it's really dirty, a lot of cobwebs. And then we're gonna start taking off these lines. Once these lines are taken off and this clip is unplugged, then we're gonna go around and we're gonna take the bolts off. So now that it is nice and cleaned up, I am just gonna start removing these. So clip, we're gonna press in that little button and then we're gonna hopefully get this with one hand. Okay, mission accomplished. And then this one, we're just gonna get some needle nose, push that together, and this will come out. These ones, they look tricky, but they're really not. These red pins here, you squeeze into these, and then you just push the rest of it out. See how it's coming out? Just push those out. You're gonna get some fuel. That's okay. You still have a little bit of pressure in the lines, and just be prepared for some fuelage. So we're gonna get those out, and then I'm gonna start working on these. All of those are going to be 8mm. And just like that, all the little nuts come off of the threads that go all the way around this. I got all these off. Of course, the clip. Now for this one, this might pose a little problem. This is a bracket that holds some lines that are coming through here, right underneath. So the best I can, I'm gonna try to get this out of the way and kind of tuck it this way so I can pull this out. It looks like I'm gonna have to lift it up and then kind of out. So hopefully that'll work. That did work a lot easier than I thought it was going to. A little clip, just pop this up and then it slips underneath. It's super easy. Now you're gonna have to be really careful when pulling this up. Make sure you look under here and you're not smashing anything, because that float that's in there, that's like really fragile, and if you bend it then your fuel gauge is gonna be off. So just taking this out, just make sure you look there, don't force anything, and just kind of wiggle it around until you get it to the right angle to slowly slip it out. Okay, I just got it out. I'm still holding it, it's draining right now. So there's the float that I was talking about. Really what I did was just kept twisting it, because you just have to keep going around. Like there's a big notch here when you first try to get it out. This is tilted in, and then these lines, it's basically you have to keep spinning it around in circles until it goes in properly. So I'm gonna wait until this finishes dripping. Looks like it's almost done dripping. Then we're gonna take this out and we're gonna take a closer look at this. Okay, I know I didn't show it before, but I covered up the giant hole where the gas tank is with something so nothing falls in there. So now I'm inside, and this is a look at your whole system. So here's your fuel pump. So it sucks everything in through the sock. Fuel pump pushes it through the filter and then up through the lines, and then it's got all this stuff up there that goes to the rest of the car. Anyway, I have the Walbro, just in, you know, not really just in case. I am gonna upgrade the car, so it's always good to have something a little bit more beefy in there for down the line so you don't have to take this out later. So this thing is very common, very well rated for the Subaru Foresters. Basically, I don't wanna have to do this again, so I'm gonna get something powerful, put it in there, remove that, so I don't have to come back in here. And really, it's quite simple. I'm gonna show you how to take this all apart. This kit that I have comes with like a new sock and everything. That, and then I have over there the fuel filter that's supposed to go in the front for the older models. It literally bolts right in because the brackets and everything are still the same. So this and the fuel filter. I'll link those down below like I do all my videos, so you guys can check it out on Amazon, compare prices, whatever. I wish I could, I mean, I've got the equipment down there for the actual fuel filter. I wish I could find those online, but like I said, junk car. So let's get this thing taken apart and all this grossness, make it go away. It's grody. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is there's a little rubber piece that is clamped in between the metal here. It's the big rubber piece. You just push up on it and basically this whole thing will start to come up, but there's this little rubber piece in the way. The new kit comes with another one, just in case this one's all rotted and gross. So I'm gonna start with that, push that up, and get this little rubber grommet out of the way. And now that I have the little rubber boot out of the way, see how this can be moved freely. So I'm moving down this clip so I can pull this up and then eventually pull it out. I'm gonna have to crack this loose, so twist it a little bit before pulling out. Pulling out. And definitely make sure you unclip this. It's just a little push in there. Unclip this and then start pulling on it, because you might damage that. Forgot to put that in. So I have that out. I got fuel all over me and over everywhere, but that's just what you're gonna have to deal with. Now, this whole unit can come out. This built-in filter that is in tank for lifetime. I don't know why lifetime, why? So I got myself a rag for this, and I also went to and dumped out, there's a lot of fuel that's just trapped in the filter, so I kind of just turned it and shook it out a little bit so I don't have to deal with so much fuel. But to get that off, there is a bracket here on the back. We're gonna have to take this bracket off so we can come around and get to that screw right there. Unless you can get that out without the bracket, but really it's just, you know, one screw holding it in. It's not that big of a deal. So we're gonna take that bracket off so we can get to that Phillips head right there. Once we get that out, that bracket is attached to this whole thing. So here it is. That's the screw that was holding it in place. I put the bracket back on and flipped it back over for you guys to see. So really the only thing that is keeping this thing from falling off is the line that goes into here. So we're just gonna pull straight out and this filter will finally be free. Well, now that that's gone, this thing looks pretty bare. So, only thing we have to do now is put in the new sock and pump right back to where it was, and then instead of that whole assembly for the filter, we just have a direct line with a clamp, of course, a direct line that goes from here all the way across to the new one. So that's all I have to do. That's one thing that I still don't have yet, but you guys are watching the video, so I already have it done. I need to go to the store and figure out exactly what size line this is, and I'll tell you guys the diameter. Obviously make sure it is a fuel line that goes from here to here, because obviously, you know, fuel is everywhere. So here is the kit. It comes with the new 255 liter per hour fuel pump. You do have to put on, I was actually wrong before, you actually do have to put this on because the bottom, this little plastic piece here, is a different shape than the old one. So you do have to put this one on as a spacer. It fits perfectly in here. So pop that one on. I still have the little things on here, but it also does come with a new fuel hose, but I really doubt that's gonna be long enough. So if I do have to go to the auto parts store, which I'm sure I still do, I'll just bring this with me to make sure I have the proper size. Comes with that little washer. It comes with 2 clamps, so at least I don't have to buy those. Of course, it comes with the new sock filter, and it also comes with a new wire, which is the one that goes right across there. So, I mean, if you want to replace it, you can. There's nothing wrong with mine, but I don't know if I should replace it or not. So installation is pretty easy on here. You can see here on the bottom, there's this little protrusion right here in the hole. We're going to put this on exactly how it was before. You can't screw up how you put it on. See how there is an opening here? You just squeeze that on, and that opening is going to go into that little protrusion down there. So let me pop that on. And this is actually a retaining clip. So this little teeny tiny thing that you have to look for, make sure you don't lose, actually goes on the end of the little protrusion right there. So it basically locks this sock into place. So I'm gonna get that little guy and put it in. So I just came back from the auto parts store, and this is a 5/16 fuel injection hose. It's the more heavy duty one since it's coming straight from the fuel pump. Best way to go. So I've got this one. I just need to cut it down to size since they only sell it in foot. So I'm just gonna measure it out, cut it, and then I'm just gonna use the included little clamps here. And yeah. Oh, one more thing. You need to have cable ties because of the way that this is done. There's really nothing to secure this in place. Like once you put this on, it's just kind of dangling there besides the actual hose that's going through. So I'm gonna get a cable tie and wrap it around here real snug so it just keeps it from wiggling around and moving too much. Okay, so I just finished measuring everything up, cut it, so I've got the fuel line good to go. I'm actually gonna be using 2 zip ties. One of them I'm gonna have go through one of these pre-drilled holes that are in here, and that will just keep this thing from sliding on or off, and that's just gonna snug it down. And then I'm gonna have another one that's gonna loop through it that actually goes around the whole thing to actually push it down as much as possible. And because there's nothing underneath here, it's gonna be tilted down. It's gonna be in there and it's gonna be like that. So I wanna have it more level. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put this old little spacer that was down here. I'm actually gonna put it in, not right here, but you get the general idea. It actually fits very nicely just like this as a padding, and it puts it very, very equal while the pump is sitting on there. So I'm gonna place that right there, and with the zip ties smashing down on it and the fuel pump squishing it, that thing's not gonna go anywhere. So let me get this set up and I'll let you guys see what it looks like. And that's just a better idea of what it looks like once it's all done. Pushed it down so it's smushed against the rubber here, so you got a little bit of padding here, you've got the padding in the back, and now we just need to put the hose through here, which I have all set up. I've got the clamps on first, because I always forget that. Slide it on that way, and then tighten these clamps down, and with this in, it'll keep this from going back and forth. This will keep it from going up and down or back and forth. You've got the rubber on the end. This thing's not going anywhere. And just a quick tip, if you guys want to get these on much easier, just get a Q-tip, put some fresh oil that you have, if you have any, laying around. Fresh oil, and just put the Q-tip, smudge a little bit in there and a little bit on the stem here, and it will slide in so much easier. And here is our final product. Everything is in place. Nothing's gonna move around. Everything is super solid. Now we just have to grab this, put it back into the car, and then go under the hood and make sure the fuel filter is installed, so we do have a filter. So here we are under the hood. Here's the washer reservoir. We need to take this out. So the 2 Phillips heads up there, and then we've got to come down here and take out the wiring harnesses and whatnot. Just get this out of the way. And we need to get to the 2 bolts down there, and this is the dampener that we're gonna remove, and the 2 lines here are going to go into our new fuel filter. So in order to get to this and the 2 bolts under there, like I said, we're gonna have to remove this and to be able to get to that. Okay, so now I have the washer reservoir out of the way. Just got it sitting over here so I don't have to disconnect the actual lines that go into it. I've taken out both the bolts that are in there. I do have the brake brace by Grimspeed in there, so I have already been in here, and I'm pretty sure I removed the bottom portion. There's like a second one that goes in here, but now that those are out, this whole thing is loose. So you just have to disconnect it. You see there's 2 clips right here that are holding on to the hose. That can be disconnected so it's no longer attached to this. And then once you get those off, back here, you've got another clip holding on that back line. And once that one is out of the way, right underneath you have your last one where the line is popped into place for your management. And there you go. Once that's out, now the whole bracket can come out. Now if you actually have the old school bracket type that are in, I think it's like up to 2005 STIs and WRXs, Foresters, it was up to 2004 Legacies. It's around that area, like before 2004, 2005, some of them still had it in there. But you can get the bracket at a junkyard, but if you don't want to and you want to hook up your own little system, that's fine. But the only thing you need to do is remove this. So you have to take out these hose clamps here, take those out, this dampener will be removed, and then the new fuel filter, you just have to look on there to see what is the in and the out. Obviously this is coming from the tank and then into the fuel line. So a problem that I ran into is when I put the fuel filter in here, this hose reaches perfectly to fit it, and this one is too short. Now, I could replace the whole thing, but these hoses are these kind that are like crimped, and then they're little quick locking weird things that are expensive. It's not like I can just go get a hose cut and throw it in there. So I put on the hose that came with the fuel pump. So I popped that on there, and I used some of the line from the damper, and I'm gonna throw that in. I'm gonna put it in one side. I've got 2 extra clamps that were just on there, and I'm gonna make sure this is secured in there just to give it a little extra hose room so I can actually fit that on there, because this one fits perfectly fine. For this one, it's just cut short. I don't know if Subaru did that intentionally. Once they took out the actual filter in here and moved it to the rear, they just made shorter ones, or they cut these. I don't know, but this is what I'm gonna have to do. And would you look at that, everything plumbed in, looking like new, except for the stupid little hose clamps that I have to put on there. But other than that, everything looks awesome. Maybe eventually down the line, if I can go to a junkyard or something and get maybe this exact same one, because this would be a great length to pop into that one down there, just to give it that little extra length to get up to this in port. But just popping that in there, making sure the hose clamps are on nice and tight so nothing leaks. That basically concludes it. I've got the back set up, I've got the front set up, new pump, new filter. So all I gotta do now, jump into the car, prime the car a few times. And another quick tip from me, if you actually use the clamp, this side has to be flat in order to get the reservoir on, and the other side needs to have the latch. Like a glove. Okay, so now that's on, gotta go up front. Obviously we have fuel. Now we just have to double check and make sure we have no leaks. Okay. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and fix up under the hood, put everything back to where it should be, give this a quick little test drive, and enjoy my new fuel filter. And I'll either put it in this video or another video, but I am definitely going to open up that fuel filter to see how bad it is, because I'm pretty positive that is the original fuel filter, and that has 150,000 miles on that filter, and it's supposed to be lifetime, but people drive these cars for a very long time, so I'm very interested to see that, so stay tuned. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram so you can get some behind the scenes stuff that hasn't happened yet and unreleased content that no one else has seen. And if you haven't already, watch that video. And if you've watched that video, watch that video. And if you've watched both of those videos already, make sure you subscribe down here. Yeah, watch this stuff. It's awesome. And if you've watched that, and subscribed, I love you.